We'll let them in and we'll get started here. So again, hello, I'm Kathy Markov. I'm your facilitator for this, what I think is a very important class. It's called How to Job Search During this Pandemic. This is sponsored through the Santa Barbara Workforce Development Board, and in particular, really dovetailing with the Services of America's Job Center of California. So before we begin officially, I love to see all you people on the line. I want to talk a little bit about Zoom. So hello, Lisa. I'm gonna ask, perfect timing because we're talking about Zoom. I'd like to ask that everybody turn their video off and turn their microphone to mute. So that's important here. So that, thank you. So that we're able to focus a little bit on this. But that doesn't mean that we can't interact with one another. So again, stop your video and mute yourself. There may be a time, particularly at the end, I'll ask for any questions. But I want you to open up the chat. So if you go down to the ribbon at the bottom of your main screen, you will see that there is a box that will give you an opportunity to do a chat. So if you could please chat, pull up the chat, and in there, I'm gonna say, welcome everybody. And what I'd like you to do is if you could just write back your name and what you hope to get out of this session. So I don't see anybody. Hello. Yes, so I just want you to practice a little bit with the chat. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see a little button that says chat. Pull up the chat, and I've said welcome to everybody. And you could just write in there, say what you hope to get out of the class. There we go, Leslie, thank you. Information to help our job seekers on how to navigate employment process today. Learn to jobs, yes, of course, the title of it, right? Yeah, resources to use. Okay, so this is perfect. You're right where you need to be. Let's talk about this a little bit. Also, if you have any questions, you can put them into the chat. I'll be monitoring that as we carry on. But how does job search during this pandemic? What we're hoping to accomplish today is, and I want to make sure, are you able to see the screen? I want to make sure everybody can see the screen. I've shared my screen, so I'm hopeful that you can see it. Yes, good. Well, I want you to develop your skill at staying positive during this time of unemployment. Now, this is a skill we need all the time, and especially when we're unemployed, but in particular at this time. I just read an article that multiple sources of looking at depression that is reflected in our society, not only in the United States, but globally, as at an all-time high. So we really have to have a concerted effort to be remaining positive during this time of unemployment, during the pandemic. I want you to be able to identify transferable skills that meet the labor market needs. Now, this is how you job search ordinarily, but during these times, it's particularly important. I would hate for you to get a job in an industry that is vulnerable to being open and shut during this time of pandemic, when honestly, we really have no idea what is ahead. There's a sense that the pandemic is waning, but I've got to tell you, I do work for international organizations. This morning, I was on a call with people all over Asia, Europe. Parts of the world are shutting down again. So we can't say that we're out of the woods yet. We really don't know what's going to happen. So we need to identify transferable skills and move ourselves into strong industries at this time. And there are companies that are hiring and industries that are doing well. We want to make sure that we end up in those industries and not leave ourselves vulnerable to losing a job again. And I want you to understand the benefit of networking, to tap into really most jobs are found on what they call the hidden job market. By the time a lot of job announcements make it into the big job search funnels, Monster, Indeed, those kinds of things, lots of times there's already a short list of people that the employer's interested in. So we want to make sure that you're there even before they advertise the job, and it takes networking. So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about. So let's start off here. COVID-19. You know, who would have thought that this would have happened? You know, it's kind of funny. I have a girlfriend. She has a 9-year-old daughter, and she told me that a couple of days ago, her 9-year-old, who now is, you know, on school learning, and it's been very disruptive for the last 6 months in this little girl's life. She said, "Mommy, what was it like when you were my age during the pandemic?" So, you know, this is unprecedented. Of course, my friends, well, there wasn't a pandemic when I was a kid. This hasn't happened for 100 years. Nobody knows what to do at the moment. And I want to say, I am sorry that you're out of work at this time. This is not your fault. And there's really no easy way out of this. The good news is that there are jobs that are open right now in Santa Barbara County. In fact, 2 days ago, I was on, I work with a group of hiring managers, HR professionals, and several of them, 3 of them in a group of 10, were saying that they were really having difficulty people to fill their jobs. One of them, they were looking for kind of specialty engineering engineers. So I get that that's probably hard all the time. But there were a couple in hospitality and retail, which are deemed essential. Not all of them, but this particular retail business is an essential business because they provide services and products to the agriculture field. So they are having trouble finding people to work for them. And they're not all entry-level positions. So I'm here to tell you, there are jobs open now. There always are. You just need to open your mind to thinking of yourself and what's capable and what you're willing to do in a different way. So another girlfriend of mine sent me this, and I thought this was kind of funny, right? So it is 2020, the year that was brought to you by the letters W, T, and F. This is what we're experiencing. And I'm here to tell you that it is not political. This is biological. And we don't know how this is going to end. We all want to remain optimistic, certainly. But in fact, we also need to be realistic. So this is what I really suggest. This quote here, I really love it. It says, "The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change, and the realist adjusts the sails." This is our time to adjust our sails. Even if you are employed, because I know we have some workforce professionals here, what can you do even now during this period of time to ensure that your skills are up to date, that you are ready to go at any time? This is important for everyone. So we need to be flexible, and we need to have clarity on what is possible now and how the world may be changing as in this pandemic, but even in its aftermath. So life is never going to be the same, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be worse. Without a doubt, it will be different. So this is important. This morning on this international call, I was talking with a woman who lives in Manila. They've been locked down quite a bit. You know, they're struggling just like everyone in the world. And she was a high-powered professional, and she said she's so grateful for this time of the pandemic because she's had so much more time with her children and other members of her family. So this is something to try to think about. What are you grateful for, even at this time? And I had to say that I echoed her feelings. I spend in my career so much time on the road, driving, commuting. I have a training business. It was live training. And so now I'm doing it all from home. I've had to very quickly, on a very steep learning curve, learn all sorts of new skills. I'll touch on that a little bit later as it relates to what I think you could be doing now too. But I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've had to be home, and I'm doing a lot of gardening. My garden has never looked so good. So what are the things that you can be grateful for at this time? And cultivate those positive feelings, because these feelings are really paramount to your immediate happiness. And that happiness translates into the kind of energy that you exude and present to your future employer. And people know, they can sense the energy, the attitude, the positive gratefulness that people have. And they're looking for people to join their team that are going to boost up the energy and make it positive. So even in these difficult times, what can you be grateful for? So let's start here. This is one of the most important things. Safety first. We know all of these things, right? Be realistic too about your own situation. What are you willing to do? What can you do? Your health and safety always come first in a public health crisis like this. So I'm doing 90% of my work is done remotely. I live with my 87-year-old mother-in-law. So I am concerned about bringing anything into the house that would harm her. She's at high risk for the disease. So it doesn't mean that I don't go out, but I don't engage in large events. I don't go to indoor events. I may do small events inside. When I say small, I mean less than 10 people outside. That's for me. What is it for you? I wouldn't take a job where I'm doing a lot of customer service, but my daughter, who lives in her own apartment, and I'll mention this later, she's just taken a job at the COVID center doing customer intake. So she is around people in an office, but she lives by herself. She isn't bringing the disease home. And we social distance when we're with her. So those are the kind of things you want to think about. What can you take on? What are you willing to take on? Because you need to remain healthy. These are some of the kind of things I want you to start with. Also, the Employment Development Department, they provide, as you know, your benefits. And this is really key, that during this period of unemployment that you do everything to keep your benefits coming. There is absolutely no shame in accepting assistance that you are legitimately qualified for. That is what they are for. They are designed to keep you and the economy healthy. During the last recession, there was a lot of focus on CalFresh or food assistance for people. And there was, why are people getting all this food assistance? Well, first of all, it's to keep people fed. But second of all, if they did not exist, what other kinds of jobs would be lost in the food industry, from grocery stores to farmers? This is really important. So do everything that you can to keep your benefits going. Fill out the paperwork, be on time, but be truthful. I have very gratefully accepted unemployment during this time. They changed the rules for independent contractors like myself. But I always put every single cent that I have made in any week. I am 100% truthful and honest. And there have been weeks when I haven't gotten it, and it's legitimate. But there are weeks when I have nothing going on, and it has kept food on the table and electricity running through my house and ability to pay the rent. So this is important. Look at Covered California for your health insurance. If you're unemployed, likely your health insurance could be free. And this is a time when everybody needs health insurance. CalFresh, I mentioned that before. The list is long, and there is no shame in it, as long as you're doing it honestly and keeping up with that, the things that you're legitimately entitled to. And these are all things that can help keep you calm. I have another friend, and she says, cash keeps me calm. So, I mean, really, if you're worrying about where your next meal is coming from, it's likely to really impact your attitude. But a bad attitude is like a flat tire. If you don't change it, you'll never get anywhere. And trust me, when you're going out there doing the interviews, people can feel your attitude. Attitude is everything. I've had employers tell me, look, I can teach someone to do the job, but I can't teach them how to have a good attitude. So employers are looking for this. This is a quote from one of my favorite books. It's by a guy named Viktor Frankl. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's a sad story. It's a story of his experiences in the Nazi concentration camps. But he was a psychotherapist. He had a PhD in psychology, and he was a young man in his 20s. He survived because he came out and wrote this book. But actually, the book is not depressing at all. It's very uplifting. And this is one of my favorite quotes. It says, "We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts, comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man or a woman but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, the choice to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." And even given the situation that we're in now, and I know a lot of people are truly suffering, but you still can choose your attitude. And so this is important to think about. True healing will always begin with your thoughts. Master your thoughts and you master your life. So, to take care of yourself while you're out of work. You know, some of you, this may not be the first time you've gone through this. It doesn't get any easier, but you can do it with more ease. And like a butterfly, we need to remember that you can emerge, transform, emerge, and fly again. So in the chat, what I would like you to do, and those of you that joined us late, if you could please pull up your chat, write in the chat box, what are some ways you know to take good care of yourself? Just put a few thoughts in there in that chat. So Leslie said, walk on the beach. We are so lucky here in Santa Barbara that we have that opportunity. Yes, walks on the beach. I think everybody likes that idea. Ride your bike. I often think, what is it like for people, say, up near the Canadian border in Wisconsin, Montana, Maine? I used to live in Vermont. It's getting ready to snow now. You know, they're not eating outside in restaurants anymore. So this is important. Baking, yes, we all have to eat. You know, this is a great way to and there's lots of free resources. Learn some new skill, have some fun. But what's important is to be the master of your thoughts and to focus on doing these things, reading, hiking. These things are very important. And the things that you've written, they don't cost anything here, right? So let's do some things to feed our soul and to keep that attitude high. So there are opportunities to work everywhere. Remote opportunities. There have never been more. That's either by the internet or by the phone. You know, you can get licensed to have a cottage industry in your house, making food, meal preparation, making masks, growing plants. There are gig economy opportunities. Both my kids, college, one is a college graduate. She just got a full-time job, and another one who's in college but taking classes remotely here. He goes to San Diego State. They both are working for DoorDash. So, you know, this is great. There's no shame in that whatsoever. Other gig economy opportunities are there. There are opportunities for you to assist with the pandemic. My daughter's working at the COVID Center. It's an entry-level position. She's making $18 an hour and she works 12-hour shifts. So 4 of those hours are at overtime rates. That's time and a half. She's making a head of household income right now. You know, she works 48 hours a week. So this is good work. The question to ask yourself is, what do people need now? And who's providing those products and services? Those are the kind of organizations and jobs you want to target, because we want you to get into a job and stay in it. Can you identify a need and start your own business? I mean, this is really possible. It's never been easier to start a business than it is now. What resources are in this community to help you do that? There's a lot of economic development opportunities or organizations that will help you with that. So these are some of the things to start thinking creatively. I love this quote by Nelson Mandela. He said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Now, this is from a man who spent 27 years alone in prison, and he came out ready to change the world. We can stay home for, I don't know, it's been 6 months. We could stay home for 2 years. And we can come out ready to take on the world if we don't let it get us down. So, why? Yes, I am a bit stressed. Why do you ask? So, according to a Gallup, the Gallup organization, they had a survey, trust in the COVID-19 age. And they said that the new normal is still developing. Now, this was in April, but I think the same thing could be said. We really don't know what's happening here or how the real impact on the workplace. I have some ideas, but we don't really know. And that we the people, we're overwhelmed with information and with misinformation. It is hard to figure out what's really going on. So of course, we're stressed out. Stress is the mental and physical condition that results from a perceived threat of danger, both physical and emotional, and the pressure to remove it. It is the sense of feeling and being out of control. Well, has there ever been anything where we felt more out of control than what's going on now? And then you add on being unemployed on that? No wonder we're stressed out. So give yourself a break and be aware that stress impacts your body, your mind, your emotions, and your behavior. And so we need to work on managing our stress. You know, there are two kinds of stress. Often what we think about is what we call distress. Distress. Dis is a Greek prefix, that's the right word, for bad. This is the bad stress. And this is what we usually think of as stress. But actually, there's another kind of stress, right? It's the energy that gets us going. What got you on this call today? I would say that what got you on the call today was something called eustress. Again, the Greek preface for good, the good stress. Think of anything that you ever did that was worthwhile in your life, that was fun, or something that, you know, you just chose to do it. It was eustress that got you there, but it still was stress, the pressure. So we need to be aware of it. When do we get excited about things? And when are we distressed about things? You know, we talk about people wanting to have no stress, but in fact, nobody really wants no stress. Nothing happens in no stress. And even distress, the distress of being unemployed, you know, I've been unemployed before. I've been fired. I've said that in some of these workshops. I think anybody who works long enough knows that. The good news is that we live in a time when people have many different careers and there are many different opportunities for you. And that distress may just be the thing that gets you to make the change that you really want and to find yourself in a position of eustress. So pay attention, right? And know, when is it that you do your best work? Well, it's when we're in the eustress point of view. And so what do you need to do to get you there? Here's another quote by Viktor Frankl. He says, "What man actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a freely chosen task." So what's hard is that, you know, if you were laid off, it's not freely chosen, right? But what can you do in terms of freely choosing the next step? And I have a history working with America's Job Center in San Luis Obispo County, and oftentimes we get people coming in during the 2009 recession. Each downturn in the economy has different characteristics, but in 2009, The housing industry was the construction industry was really hard hit. And we get these people coming in and say, well, I'm laid off construction worker and I just want another job in construction. We're like, there are no jobs in construction. It'll come back, but it'll probably be another 4 or 5 years, which is actually what it took. Right. This recession, it seems construction is booming, but every downturn has different characteristics. But my point is that maybe it wasn't their chosen goal to be able to have to be laid off. But what is another freely chosen task or direction that is broader than just what you did before? Because if you were laid off now, it's unlikely you can get back into that same industry. So we'll talk about transferable skills in a minute. The important thing is it's time to create that worthwhile new goal. And we do that when we remain in the eustress state. But there's a fine line between the good stress and the bad stress. And it's our responsibility to self-monitor and be aware of where we are and where our energy is. So we get tired. This is tiring. The signs of it are physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, relational, right? This can create problems in our closest relationships. So the question is, when do you notice these symptoms? What is your pattern? How are you managing them? The first step to managing them, and really the first step to really being clear on what you want and moving towards your goals, is to be self-aware. Be self-aware. And it's oftentimes hard to be self-aware when we're stressed out. So be kind to yourself. Sleep, eat, exercise. You cannot make a good impression on your future employer if you're not taking good care of yourself. And that does include what we said before, your attitude. Research demonstrates that taking good care to get enough sleep, eat nutrition, food, and exercise improves your attitude. So all of these things are really related. I have a suggestion for you. Create a schedule or a ritual for yourself to include your self-care. Having a daily and weekly ritual or schedule will really help you to feel organized at this time when you may be feeling really disoriented and untethered. You don't have anywhere to get up and go in the morning. So create something. Well, every morning, I'm going to get up at 6:30. I'm going to eat a nutritious breakfast, and I'm going to go on an hour walk and clear my head. We live in Santa Barbara. It's beautiful. The entire county is gorgeous. Get yourself up. Get yourself out. You're going to make a promise to yourself. You're going to be asleep by 10 o'clock. You're going to put that phone down. And you're going to give yourself the gift of a great night's sleep, nutritious food, and exercise. And schedule it so that you get this sense that you have something to do. And that's very important. Manage your stress. A lot has been said about stress management. And so, these are some tips and techniques. Self-aware, what's behind your stress. Reach out for help from those that love you. I'm sure they'll help you to do some things that make you feel good. I know my mother-in-law has been going through some stressful periods, and my husband takes her on a walk every day. It's good for him. It's good for her. They get some alone time. Reach out to your friends and family for help. Simplify your life. All right, learn to say no. You don't have to be everything to everyone. Quiet your mind. There's all sorts of free things online for yoga, mindfulness, and do things that you enjoy. You talked about going to the beach. You talked about going on walks, bike rides. Do all those things. Find some hobbies. In this pandemic, when I get stressed out, I've started crocheting. I've made all these beautiful blankets for my friends and family. Now, that may not be your thing, but I like to do that. What do you like to do? And this is really important. I'll add, watch your self-talk. We all have this little voice in our head. What is it saying to you? You can reprogram that to be more positive. practice dealing with the uncertainty of the situation, because this is a major uncertain period, but uncertainty abounds no matter what's going on in the larger picture. So learning to deal with ambiguous situations and uncertainty is really key. So, not to overwhelm you, I want you to think, what is your daily thing one and thing two? Of course, it's from Dr. Seuss, but what do I mean by that? You need to pick 2 specific things every day that move you towards your goal of finding employment, right? You can't just sit there. It can be very overwhelming, all the things that need to be done. Just if you just did 2 things a day that moved you forward, and play to your energy level. I'm not so great in the morning. You know, around lunchtime, I start to really get going. I do my best work sometimes in the middle of the night, but afternoons are very productive for me. So I try to schedule some of the other things, like the exercise in the morning, food prep in the morning, and then by the time 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock come by, I'm ready to go. But not everybody's like that. Maybe you're a morning person, but target 2 things that you're going to get done at your high energy time in the day every day, and that's enough, right? Because it can be really overwhelming. Add some self-reflection. That is a task, to sit and think, what am I good at? What do I want to do? What can I do that is in a strong industry that's not going to be hit by this again? You need to do some research. That has to be on your list of to-dos. So maybe one day you're going to do self-reflection for 30 minutes, write down the things you can do, the things you want to do, and for an hour you're going to, and I'll give you some labor market tools, you're going to research the labor market. Who's hiring in our area? Another great thing, you may need to learn some new things, right? How to search on the internet, how to set up an online presence, how to attract the attention of your employers. You may need to even update your skill set. And there are so many online certification programs. And I have a business. The business really suffered in the beginning of the pandemic. It is coming back. But during the process of this pandemic, I have been certified in 2 certifications that I really wanted, and I just started a class today for a 3rd new certification. I like to learn, but this is what is really important, to have that skill. This is a great time, like unprecedented time, to get access to classes and courses and certifications that you may never have been able to do before. One of the certification classes I'm getting, the one I started today, is usually taught in Singapore. I don't have a month to go to Singapore to get certified. I don't have to do that anymore. I can take the class online in my living room. So this is important. And there are lots of places, particularly America's Job Center, where you can get training stipends to help cover the cost. And there have never been more free training online either, or affordable ones. So this is important. Let me tell you one thing though. This is what I do not want you to do. Do not send out, make one resume and send out 500 of them to every job that you see it's open. This is called what I call the shotgun approach, and hiring managers can see right through it. This day and age, people who are hiring want to see that you've targeted that particular job, that you have done the research on that organization, that you are well qualified for the job. You don't have to meet every requirement, but that you're in the ballpark, you're close. You know, that's their wish list of what they want. Maybe you don't have 5 years experience, maybe you only have 3, but you've got the education. You're moving in the right direction. I would say, well, apply to that one, but make that cover letter specific. Try to get the name of the person who's hiring on that letter, better than to whom it may concern. Maybe you can't get that, but research the organization, make it as specific to why you are the one to fill their need of a new employee. So what I would say is, I would love to see you, rather than 500 resumes out, apply to 2 jobs a week, but make them 2 jobs that you're qualified, that you love to do in an industry that's strong. This is really important. you know, 10 solid, impactful things a week, 2 of which are applying to jobs you really, truly want. That means you're spending a lot of time researching, knowing who's hiring, what the labor market needs, doing self-reflection, sharpening your skills. This is important. So, but if you boil it down again to just these 2 things every day, 10 really significant things a week, you will have accomplished a lot, right? We need to, at this kind of time, really be resilient. So these ideas of resiliency are based on the thoughts of Michael Graveas. He's a PhD. He's a high-performance psychologist. He works with the Seattle Seahawks and NBA players and Olympians. And he says you need a challenge mindset. You know, what's a challenge? Looking forward to that challenge. This helps build resiliency. You need to stay committed. What's your purpose? What are you trying to do? What is your mission, your values? And stick with them. And you need control. You need to control what you can, but have the wisdom to let go of everything else. So, you need to take the best care of yourself possible. So in your chat, I want you to write a few things. When were you resilient? Perhaps when you played sports and the team lost, but you got out there the next go round and played your darndest again. That's resilience. Maybe you had a bad breakup, but you got back out there again and you reestablished yourself. I don't know, but specifically with you, but I do know each and every one of you have been resilient. What were the factors that made you resilient? Not the specific thing that you overcame, but what were the factors? What was the thing that really made you resilient? So if you could write a couple of those factors in the chat, that would be great. Yeah. So desire, yeah. So really, I think that speaks to this commitment idea, like you really want it. But how do we know what we really want? We do the work, we do the self-reflection. What other factors of being resilient? Yeah, I think attitude, right? Having that positive attitude, having faith that at the end of the day, you're going to be taken care of. But this is why it's important, you know, to keep those benefits coming, to reach out to friends and family, to stay positive. So these are the things that we got to start thinking about in terms of being resilient. You know, it's also about developing habits. Success is really a habit. And so we got to think yes before saying no, like those construction workers. No, I only want to do construction. No, 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 no. Let's look at what else could you do where they are hiring now. Be open to new opportunities. This is how we grow and develop. Trust your gut, right? You can trust your gut. You don't have to go over the top with the research. You know, 80% of the knowledge that you need might be enough. Don't obsess about things. Get to the point where you trust your gut. Continue to be open and curious. And I know you may be, you know, 60 years old or 70 years old. Still retain your curiosity. Dedicate time each week to dreaming and researching. I used to teach at Columbia College. It's a college that is on the campus of Cuesta College. And there was a woman, and she won an award at graduation. She was graduating with her 4-year degree in psychology. And she was highlighted at the graduation because she had gotten this great job, and she was working with senior citizens, and she had a full-time job. She actually started the job before the graduation ceremony, and she was so excited. This woman was 83 years old. She started her 4-year bachelor degree on her 80th birthday. It took her less than 4 years to get through it, and she was the only one in the graduating class that had a full-time job in the field when she graduated. So, you know, it's never too late to stay open and curious. Do the hardest and most important thing on your to-do list first thing in the morning. That's what the advice says. But it's about developing these habits. So the habits that I'm talking about are becoming more self-aware. Really, what do you like? What don't you like? What would you be open to? What no? You know, you can't work in that environment because you have a sick child at home and you can't expose them to the virus, or I don't know what it would be for you, but become very self-aware. Create that ritual that keeps you positive and healthy, and reward yourself. You know, rewards don't have to be super, super expensive. You know, go on that walk, do that other thing that you want to do. All of these things are really, really important. So reward yourself. This day and age, the old ways are not going to open new doors. This is really a paradigm shift. So if we're thinking just how do we survive this pandemic, that's the wrong way to think, right? We want to shoot higher. We want to think about how can we build resilience? How can this prepare us for the future life that's going to come? So what activities, what classes, what exposure, what volunteer work could you do to set yourself up for success in the future? And likely it's not what you've been doing already. It's something new and different. And how can you get excited about that? So I've touched on this, and this is this concept of transferable skills. And so they are skills that translate from one job to another. So things like problem solving, strategic planning, supervising, project management, leading, resiliency, customer service, scheduling, right? These are things that pretty much everyone can use. And there are probably specific things that might relate. Maybe you've been working in hospitality, but now you want to start working in medical sales. So what are the customer service skills, the relationship building skills that would lend themselves to the strategy of the company that you're hiring for? This is really key because oftentimes we get into kind of a rut with the jobs that we have, but really the skills that you have acquired and that you're good at, that you like, could be applied to different industries, different companies, and when we're looking for work, that's really important. So here, this talks about 6 ways the coronavirus will change the world of work. You know, this is just projection. We don't know. This is still evolving, but clearly it will have an impact. And I'm going to tell you one of the major reasons why. You know, if this had happened 100 years ago, our economy would be really much more devastated than it is now. The technology has given us the ability to continue on many, many fronts. And so this is important. I can tell you, technology is going to be paramount to the future of work, even if we begin to return to the physical office spaces. The essential businesses, grocery stores, medical, agriculture, they will continue to be essential and important. But what you want to do is position yourself for future success. So be a lifelong learner. Update your productivity software skills. When I say that, maybe you're great on a telephone, or maybe you can get on your computer and watch YouTube videos. That's not what I'm talking about. Do you know how to use Microsoft Office Suite? That's the industry standard. How familiar you are with Google Suite of services. Even though a lot of organizations have Microsoft, they also interface with a lot of Google things, Google Docs. Can you open an email, write a business quality communication, attach documents? Can you navigate a spreadsheet? All of these things are essential. So be a lifelong learner. Again, think about certifications that the employers you're interested in want. Let's say you've always wanted to work in food service. Are you ServSafe certified? That's like a day-long course. It's not that expensive, but that certification is vital for a lot of jobs. And if you come already with it, it means the employer doesn't have to wait for you to get it, nor do they have to pay for it. And I don't think it's that expensive. And you may find people that might have grants for you, but it will give you just that little edge to get your foot in the door so you can meet the employer and get hired. Be open to change. Consider remote work. We can work anywhere in the world. I mean, I'm amazed that I am doing these training programs with people in Africa. I'm doing it with people in Bangkok, with people in Brazil. It's all done on the internet. So what is some remote work that you could do? Maybe your job search is too narrow. Maybe it could broaden out. You could work for one of these organizations that are anywhere in the world. One thing, take any job that you're offered. So what they say is it's always easier to get a job when you have a job. So, you know, if you've been on the job market a really long time, you're just waiting for that job that you left to come back, I would say don't. Take a job and keep looking. And I know that people feel loyal, but on the other hand, this is your career. You really should take the jobs that you're offered. And think about starting a business, a cottage industry, something you love to do. Rosie said she loves trimming trees. Well, everybody needs their fruit trees trimmed. Maybe you could start a business around that. I don't know, but we got to get creative and stay positive. You know, really, this too shall pass. We don't know how, we don't know how long, we don't know what toll it will take. It is biology, not politics. It will not be wished away, but it will pass. And we got to stay positive and focus on what's best for us at the time. This is from Abraham Lincoln. He said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. So this is just to underline again and again, just, you know, you have more opportunities than you think to sharpen your saw. This is one of the 7 habits of highly effective people that was really promoted by Stephen Covey. So it may be time for you to go back to school or seek occupational training. Contact the America's Job Center of California. We have offices here in Santa Barbara, offices in Santa Maria, and inquire about any training stipends that you may be eligible for. And depending on your situation, there may be other resources that are available to you, but it's a great time to sharpen your saw by going back to school. There are lots of occupations out there, and labor is really a market. That's why they call it the labor market. And it is under the same pressures of supply and demand as any other market. So before the pandemic, there was a great demand for employees and not enough employees. Now the table's turned in some industries. So there are a lot of people that are out of work, and you need to be very competitive. So you need to be strategic. You need to be well informed. And I would say even before you go to school, make sure that you're getting educated in an up-and-coming field. Don't take it by the word of the school. You need to have it demonstrated. And there are good sources to go to that. So I'm going to share with you my favorite labor market tool, which is really by EDD. So this is a labor market tool. I have a handout that goes with this class. This resource is in there. It's a very powerful tool, and it uses tax records. So it's not projection. It is looking in the past. Who's hiring? Who's not? And it covers the trends in the labor market. It also gives you information about not just a guess at what you could be hired at, but real data. What is the entry-level salary? What is the max salary? So the range, what's the median? Because you need to match this to what the needs of your family are too. You know, I'd hate for you to get trained in something and then realize later, well, you don't make a lot of money doing that. Well, you should have thought of that before you went to school. So the labor market information by EDD also tells you what kind of preparation you need for each job. So this is just sort of a screenshot of what it looks like. This is not a course in what they call LMI, labor market information, but I'm pointing you in the right direction. And so there's some ideas for you to think about. You want to go to the source. Go to cal.gov and the CDC to find out, you know, what is the status of the industry or the jobs that you want to go into. My daughter graduated from college in December, and she got certified as a personal trainer. She was hired at 2 gyms. She was living the dream. Then the pandemic hit, and she's not working in a gym as a personal trainer. She did a few things online, but as I told you, now she's working at the COVID center. This is the kind of pivot and shift that is required now. It doesn't mean that she can never be a personal trainer. It's just right now, it is a difficult thing to do. Maybe if you're well established and you already have a following and you can start to do these things online. But for a kid just starting out, that was a pretty steep hill to climb. So she pivoted and went in a different direction. So you really want to find out what is the status of anything you're going to do before you do it. Some of the hardest hit industries are hospitality, business, professional business services, and commercial retail. So commercial retail, meaning walking in the door and buying things, it's kind of started to come back. Professional business services, I think people have pivoted to being virtual. And hospitality, it's not what it was. People are going to hotels, but the cruise industry, airline industry, it's probably not the time to try to seek a job in, with United Airlines. Probably not a good idea. They're probably laying off people. So you want to kind of look at this. Here are the essential jobs. And you can find this on the CDC site and cal.gov. Healthcare, infrastructure, manufacturing. You can read this list. And in this slide, I give you a link, and it's also in the handouts. So you want to kind of focus, where are these essential jobs? They're not going away for sure. And when the pandemic is over, they'll still be there. And they will have thrived during this period. Don't overlook the local papers. Now, I would say this is not necessarily where you want to be looking for the job announcement. I'll show you where you can look for that. But what your local papers are going to do is tell you who's hiring. So, in the Santa Barbara News Press, they have articles about, oh, this company just bought a new location, or they just did this, that, the other thing. You're looking for growth factors. When is a company growing? They just purchased another company, follow the business times. But all of these local papers are going to tell you which businesses are doing well during this period. And again, even in the height of the Great Depression, you still had only less than 30% of people unemployed. There were still businesses that were going and people getting hired. So you want to find out who's hiring. So some grocery stores, food delivery services, caregiving positions, both for elderly and children, banks, janitorial, security, moving companies, solar installers. I mean, some things you might not even think about. And there are a lot of companies like this. This is a company up in Paso Robles, California. I actually know this family. They actually had a reality TV show, but we have kids the same age, and our kids went to school together. Daniel's Woodland, and what they do is they build these very exotic tree houses, and in fact, they build amusement park animations all over the world. They've done stuff for Disney, movie sets. This is what they do. And when the pandemic hit, they did what's called a pivot. They are now making protective gowns for the medical field. They did this within 10 days of the pandemic. They had before a workforce of about 100. Now they have a workforce of over 200. So they're employing twice as many people, using their manufacturing processes and space to do something positive for the pandemic. So this is the kind of thing you want to see. This is a sign company here locally. This was from the Santa Barbara News Press that is making plexiglass, right? They're doing well. There was an upholsterer. She used to recover people's furniture, and she worked solo. She started making colorful masks for children, and now she has a team of people helping her. So this is important. Could you do something again for the pandemic? Some jobs you can work from home. The key here is that you can't get stuck in the old ways. You need to embrace the new. This is the way that we remain vital and human. It can be energizing to expand, develop, and grow as a human being. What's possible for you? Be honest with yourself. What do you like? What don't you like? What is possible for you to do? And then from then, open up. What are all the options? It doesn't have to be the same thing you always did. So where are the jobs advertised? You know, here are just a few things. Cal Jobs, Indeed, Monster. You know, some jobs are even on Craigslist. But you want to look at a wide variety of these search engines for your job. And you can also go around it the other way. Target an organization that you would like to work for. Maybe you always thought it would be fun to work at Trader Joe's or Costco or Marburg. You know, they have great services. I've been impressed. That's our local waste company. You know, maybe you target an organization that you've been interested in, Allen Hancock College, then just go there and get focus. You might have to start at the entry level, but then you're in an organization you've always wanted to work for, work your way up, right? Focus on what types of work you can do. What are your head, your hands, your heart, but be very strategic with it. There's a lot of jobs out there, but you need to find one that's sustainable and have a variety of plans, right? This is the moment to have many, many plans for yourself. And you're not going to be successful with everyone, but focus on the ones that do work out and have grace with yourself. There are always opportunities. Just as Einstein said, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunities. And remember that there is this hidden job market. And the hidden job market is jobs that are not advertised. This is how you find them, through networking. So this is important. 50% of job seekers hear about jobs from friends. 37% say they learned open positions from their professional network. So build your confidence to network. Target your networking, professional organizations, alumni associations, go to the Chamber of Commerce, other organizations specific to what you're doing. Be willing to volunteer. Start networking anywhere and tell your friends and family that you're looking. Even on social media, be specific. I remember a friend who was laid off and he had 5 kids, and the night he got laid off, he put this very positive message, positive about the former employer and his skills, and said, hey, I'm looking for this kind of job. And within a week, he had another job. So 35% of people found out about their job from social media. 80% of employers are using social media as a recruitment tool. So there's many different ways, but the most important thing is get yourself a really professional LinkedIn profile. This is very, very important. And make sure everything you're posting, don't post political things, don't post confidential or controversial things. Right now, you want to be positive. Don't go bashing your former employer. Be positive and make sure, you know, all these places are good, but LinkedIn is really the one for job searching. And I think it's really important. In the handouts, I give you some links to articles. Schedule an informational interview. Is there somebody doing something that you think is really interesting? Everybody loves to talk about themselves. So set up a time just to pick their brain. Say, can I have 30 minutes just to pick your brain about what you do? And I'm really interested in it. I don't know if it's for me, but I'd like to know. And you don't know, this is where you find hidden jobs. Volunteer. Great way to learn new skills, to network, and to build your resume. And there are lots and lots of organizations that need volunteers. I've done tons of volunteering, and they've turned into jobs. You know, timing is everything. Not only with the pandemic, but looking for work is a matter of time, and it's driven by the labor market. So having patience is key. and having faith that indeed something wonderful is about to happen. I know with me, the job transitions I've had, I haven't been happy about them, but at the end of the day, I've always learned something new and landed on my feet, and you will too. So there are 8 steps for looking for work as we're winding this down. You want to know that it's a full-time job looking for work. Develop your daily routine and professional habits. Develop a list of transferable skills. Research the labor market to know who's hiring. Network to identify the opportunities in the hidden job market. Conduct informational interviewing to learn about jobs and organizations you're interested in. Maintain a professional presence on social media. Volunteer and reward yourself as you celebrate your movement forward. Here are the pillars to success. First of all, stay healthy and safe. Reach out for help from workforce professionals and your professional network. Be open to learning and trying new things. Take great care of yourself, both physically and mentally. Be positive. This too shall pass. And have patience. Be persistent. And know that the right job truly is out there for you, and that there are employers who are hiring right now. With all of my workshops, I always give a challenge activity, and this is what I want you to do. And it's in the handouts that if you connect to the workforce system, I believe that they're posted on America's Job Center and the workforce development site. But read the business section of your local paper every day to learn who's open and doing well. Create an updated LinkedIn profile. Identify organizations you'd want to work for. So make a list of every skill that you have that they need and that you would like to use, and make a list of all the organizations you'd like to work for, comparing what you could do and what they need. And be sure you always research the organization, because there's no excuses. On your phone, you can go to the website of the organization or pull up news articles, because when you get your foot in the door and you get to meet those hiring managers, they're going to want to know that you know about them. So with that, are there any questions or comments? You can unmute, or you can put them in the chat as we wind down here. I hope you learned something. Well, thank you too. And you know, what's important is to connect to the services to assist you. The Workforce Development Board, Employment Development Department, the Labor Market Information, the Department of Social Services, and of course 211 is always there for us for any kind of services you want. You can do it. And I see someone wants the 8 steps. Yes, I can also send you the handouts. So let me do this so that I could send them to you right away. Send me an email at Kathy@markovetraining.com, and I can send you the handouts right after this. Also, I can go back on that slide, and this recording and the handouts are going to be posted on the Workforce Development Board site. So with that, I thank you. And again, I'll stay for a couple of minutes if you want to unmute and ask questions or put them in the chat. But it's been my pleasure, and don't lose hope. There's work out there for you. Yeah, so they say the presentation will be posted on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Melissa. A. Christo, thank you. I don't know what your first name is. Leslie, it's a pleasure. So you guys have a great day. Stay positive. Bye. Thank you, Peter. I'm going to leave the meeting now.